Welcome to the meeting point on Delta Television. My name is Michael Ikogu. According to an American author, leadership coach, and public speaker, John C. Maxwell, anyone can steer the ship, but it takes a leader to chart the course. There's no gainsaying the fact that everything in the society revolves around leadership. It is therefore appropriate to say that when leadership of a society is in the right direction, followership will also be in the right direction. Leaders give direction and lead, but an action or inaction of any leadership in place could be it religious, political, social, community, political, and any other form of leadership that first would give direction. That society is bound to face challenges that may in turn affect the development of that area. That brings us to today's topic, challenges of leadership and followership in the political arena. I have in the studio two gentlemen to help do justice to this topic. On my immediate left is Eda Okungbowa of the Nation newspapers. Iwere, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, viewers.
We also have in the studio citizen Zika Chima. He's of the civil society organization. Chika, I want to welcome you to the studio once again.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
We are talking about leadership today, and that is one major challenge that Nigerians are really crying, particularly political leadership. Can you tell me what leadership is all about, Zika?
Yes. Thank you for the question. And leadership, especially in the political arena, is the position of service in the democratic space assigned by popular choice of a people in majority to deliver an envisioned desirables. It is an investment of the people's hope and trust on promises and personality of the candidates. What that means, in summary, is leadership is a position that one assumes, especially in the political space, by popular choice. Leadership in democracy is a position you assume based on the popular choice by majority of the people. When you are given such position, what it means is that you have been entrusted with their hope, their desire, their vision, their expectations of a better society, a better life, a better environment, so that at the end of the day, their choices will not have been misplaced. And so when you are in a position of leadership, in politics, for example, it means that there are already things that have been mentioned to the people in the course of your campaign. It also means that people have been given the hope that things will change for better from the position they are at the time of campaign. And so when you assume such position, what it means in essence is that all of those things that you have told them, for which they have invested their hope and their votes, will be accomplished. And that is how the issue of the dividend of democracy comes about. So leadership is something that, people should be able to see it in concrete terms from the way you carry them along, the way you organize, the way you deliver your services and your policies. So in our own climb, leadership in democracy is about executing the programs, the policies from the manifesto of the party that have been promised the people. And if at any point in time there is a deviation from that which you have told the people, upon which you are brought into power, it means that you are going out of the way and the people become a little worried, because it means that all the hope they have put on you, they are not seeing them come to full realization.
Okay, thank you very much. I I want to believe that you have also a broader perspective of leadership, because Zika has succeeded in narrowing it into the topic of the day. Can you also tell us your own opinion and what you observe to be leadership?
Leadership, anyone who by virtue of assumed role or assigned responsibility inspires and influences people by providing purpose, that is what the term to be a leader implies. It's either you've taken charge of the situation and asserted your personality on a given task. That is showing leadership, and that is when a critical situation arises, where there are dire situations and individuals in that subset take charge, take matters into their own hands, as it were, and begin to provide the purpose for that, to navigate their way out of the situation there. So it's either also an assigned responsibility that has some resonance with what Zika said when it comes to the political space, and the majority elects, and you are expected to carry the burden of their wishes and expectations and hopes and aspirations in that regard. So that is what leadership is. So two broad levels we can talk about leadership. But leadership in the political space as it is today, which concerns us because a fresh political circle is upon us, and Nigerians are itching to elect their leaders. Basically, this is where we are today.
Okay. From the general perspective that you have just painted, at what level in a man's life can you say is a leader?
Leadership is not tied to age. People can exhibit traits of leadership even at very tender ages. So it is not a question of age. In any society, in any circumstance, the leadership qualities of persons can manifest, and whether by adverse condition or by the need to negotiate out of danger, for example, and people become much more, then you know the true personality of persons when they are faced with adversity. So that is one area, that's one way, that's to tell who a leader can be. But be that as it may, in the political contest, leaders emerge by popular vote. When they say popular vote, when you say somebody has a mass appeal, it is something intrinsic in that person. It is not a very tangible quality, but it is something that attracts a lot of people. So leaders are actually born, and
okay, with the kind of policies we play in Nigeria, can you boldly say that the leaders we have emerged through a popular process, when we have a situation that few individuals will sit down and say, this is the man we want to, represent us at a certain level, undermining the popularity, the quality, the charisma, and the leadership traits the individual has exhibited before now?
Yes, in our own political situation here in Nigeria, we have different interpretations to what proper leadership should be within the political space. And I want to say that people who are in politics have benefited and have found themselves in positions of power and leadership, oftentimes not by the sterling leadership qualities that have been exhibited. Sometimes it is by patronage of some, in quotes, godfathers who see them as the lapdog that they can manipulate and use to achieve certain ends. But if you ask me, so far, especially in the First Republic, we had enviable leaders, people with charisma, people who can inspire. I remember those early days. Awolo, Chief Abafem Awolo, and Zika, they are coming around to Asaba, especially Asaba Arcade here. Almost the whole of that day, schools would almost be closed, just to go and listen. Even though at that time we were tender and didn't know the import of the things they were going to say. But that was the kind of charisma they commanded. People, that's unlike these days when you see people, because one, people who have invested over the years and decades on politics by way of giving support, they are somehow disappointed. And followership has dropped. So what you see today is partisanship over and superior to followership and popularity. And so leadership has been reduced in our climb here to who do you know, who is projecting you. And sometimes it becomes imposition rather than allowing, the leadership tendencies to determine who the person who should come to a position of leadership. That is where we find ourselves today. So give and take, you will find that today, much of leadership that should inspire the people is absent. It's more of political gerrymandering and the brickmanship that sees the people ascending powers.
Okay. Then Okungbowa, we have talked about leadership. What is then followership?
The question you actually should ask is the difference between leadership and followership. Because without followers, I'm not sure leaders can emerge. They require followers for a leader to truly, for the true meaning of leadership to be really put in perspective. So leaders are willing to step up and take control of a project or a task. They enjoy a challenge and embrace change as they know it will benefit them in the long run. But followers have to be forced to drive a project by their bosses. They rarely, if ever, volunteer to take on a project or a task. So it must be the difference between followership that is naive, that is gullible, and a leadership that inspires. That, I think, is where the crossroad that Nigeria has been boxed into. We have to determine as followers who our leaders can be. The process of selecting our leaders is flawed. That is why Nigeria is remains underdeveloped, because we haven't actually seen growth since independence, real political growth, or in every aspect of our national life. Is it economy? Is it our morals? Is it socially? So the issue of followership is largely tied to the type of leaders that emerges. And in Nigeria's situation, our leadership process is flawed. Take, for example, the last, in the build-up to the build-up to the last, the electoral law, it was going to be passed, and all of those issues that surrounded it. A situation where a people cannot speak for themselves, because that was what happened. That was where we were as citizens, when only a few people sat down and decided that it must be this method for selecting leaders as opposed to the other. Nigerians that should actually step up to the plate and say this is what we want. But we emasculated, and only a few select few took that decision. And we knew how it was back and forth between, it was a battle between the legislature, and some people accuse the governors of standing in the way of a true and proper, transparent and credible means of selecting leaders. That was the situation we found ourselves. So, but when the president waded in, he still did not solve our problem, because Nigerians should have been in the vanguard of steering the course of the ship of state when it was clear that the elite had abandoned political leadership. Because if they had civil virtue, they would have understood that for the benefit of the whole people, they needed to adopt a means where the whole populace would be happy and support, for example, option A4, that the governors had allegedly fought. If they had, for example, allowed, that is not supporting the National Assembly for actually trying to narrow down where the choices we had. If the National Assembly had said, okay, we want any of the three direct, indirect, and consensus, if they had said any of this will have it's what we want.
But so what we are looking at is the process of selecting
leaders.
It's flawed.
It's flawed. And
okay, but the question I'm trying to establish here is followership, between followership and leadership. You understand?
Yes.
If a leader is going to emerge, before emergence, there are a group of persons living in that particular environment that will decide who will be representing them, particularly in political arena, starting from councillorship, chairmanship, assembly, rep, senate, governorship, presidency. There must be a group of individuals saying, okay, this is the kind of leader we want to represent us. Do we have such practice in Nigeria that allows for the followers to decide who will represent them at any level?
That is where the problem starts from in Nigeria, because if you are looking for a method, a way to participating in mass participation in politics, there is a roadblock, there's an obstacle for the masses to participate because they do not own the political parties. And now that is where they have the fight against those people who have hijacked the parties, the godfathers who begin to dictate and select leaders. If Nigerians, the point I still must make is, if we had a more transparent method of selecting leaders, for example, we always come back to the option A4 where it appears to be much more transparent. People, the masses, select who they want to represent them. But that is not the case. Nigerians do not own their parties. Only a select few own it. So the process for selection will always be skewed in favor of the interest group, the group of that interest. I mean the interest of that group. So that is where we have found ourselves as a nation politically. Until we get that process right, the followership would not. They said the followership, for example, can never. There is no way in the constitution that makes, for example, for a plebiscite. They say no, the whole country must say yes or no on an issue. In so many countries, there are instances like that, but we do not have such in the constitution because the constitution does not actually represent the interests of the indigenous, autochthonous Nigerian people. It does not. The constitution does not emanate from us. So we are always going to meet all of these impediments. Of course, they say democracy is an evolving process. So I'm sure over time we will.
Okay, the issue now is the process, according to you, is not transparent. It has been skewed in a manner that certain individuals will begin to take decisions and lording it over the majority of the people. The constitution that give Nigerians the opportunity to establish political parties did not say certain cabals must own the political party. Yes. It's expected that a group of individuals who have similar interests will come together and say this want to float a political party, and in the process begin to recruit more members to join them. Where did we get it wrong? From those who champion the cause of political parties that they call our party leaders, yes, and those who are following them. Is there any constitution that bears the followers from making input on the choice of leaders that they want to project at a given election?
I want to a little bit radicalize my view. People get into positions of leadership under certain political parties, not by mass acceptance, but they have been able to influence and barge into the space using the fortunes available to them, financial fortunes this time. I want to believe that deliberately the elite in Nigeria have been able to create a situation where hunger has been inflicted on the masses such that it becomes difficult to resist and allow their interests entrenched in the political space. That is what I see that is happening. When people are hungry by some form of deliberate scheme, what happens is that the mass of people become subservient. And so whatever that comes becomes the norm. I'm not sure that in the semi climes or in the civilized countries like the United States, I'm not sure that people influence political outcomes as groups or whatever. I think that the political parties, their responsibility ought to be lay everything bare to the people and let them make their choices. And that is why I say followership should be anchored on the inspiring leadership tendencies and traits of those who occupy such positions. It's not necessarily something that should make people become partisan. Even when it is glaring that a government is not doing well, you still see people that are ready to die to protect and entrench such leadership. And you begin to ask yourself, is leadership not supposed to provide the goodies of proper livelihood? Are they not supposed to provide improved standard of living? Are they not supposed to provide better education, potable water, good roads, and what have you? You see situations where there are indications of leadership deficit, and yet people fight to say such a person they must they must invest their vote in. And what that means is that hunger has been created and making it difficult for the people to resist the crumbs, the carrots that have been thrown. And so what we need to do in our own kind of system is to begin to use the mass media extensively to begin to educate the people. Suddenly, you can see in the present days, there is this awareness, there is this consciousness. People are beginning to say, no, I think we have been just lying low, looking ignorant of the proceedings in our leadership. And so people are coming back to say, no, this time we have to be involved. We have to take power and make sure that only those that we seek to be there are those who are actually put in place. So godfatherism has been something that we have become used to over the years. And it is difficult as it is today to pull it down, except the masses get involved in what happens in the democratic space, because that has been a challenge.
Okungbowa, the current situation that we find ourselves in the country, does our present crop of leaders give room for effective participation of the masses in decision making?
the leadership, as I see today in Nigeria, do not understand they want to enjoy the privileges of the position of leadership, but the responsibility that goes with it, they shirk it, they ignore it completely. So they cannot allow for the space for which more Nigerians to come into that position to participate in leadership roles. They cannot accept it because of their selfish, self-servient mentality. They do not understand what civic virtue means, our leaders. So they cannot understand. It is not unlikely that a few persons within that specific political parties understand this need, but the larger global pressure would stifle those progressive tendencies, because it appears it's only the evil ones that have actually taken full possession of our political parties in Nigeria. Otherwise, since 1999, Nigerians have not truly reaped the fruit of democracy. It's over going 24 years thereabout, and we still are faced with infrastructural deficits. We still are faced with a university, an educational system that is broken down. The health system isn't doing isn't doing good as well. So you find out that at all levels, the masses have been emasculated. They've been relegated from participation. But I still see all of it as the growth that usually comes with a democratic process. It takes time. It's slow, but it is sure and steady, because nobody in his wildest imagination could have expected the reaction of the public, of the masses, during the NSAS riot. It was a revolt against leadership, poor leadership. The organizers of that protest actually talked about misgovernance and all of that. Yes. And that sits squarely on the shoulders of our leaders, who have who think that all there is to leadership is just the privileges and nothing to do with the responsibility that goes with our office. But we know that, and our leaders have taken notice of it, that Nigerians can't be taken for granted anymore. That it is for, I do not know whether it is the social media or this internet that has galvanized Nigerians to be this participatory and active in democracy as it is today now. I do not know whether that is the reason, but I fancy that in 2023 Nigerians would actually take hold of their destiny. And so to answer your question, our followers, our leaders have shut the doors on Nigerians, but Nigerians say no, you can't take us for granted, and they are tearing their way into the room. And
okay.
That is what
before now, before the modern democracy that we have, yes, our forefathers lived in an environment that was purely organized. That is why I have the level of 8 grades, yes, and they assign responsibility to every level.
Yes.
Today, what we are seeing now is leader-servant disposition that has become of our polity, because it has been observed that as soon as an individual ascends the political throne, it becomes Mr. Know-all. Do you think it's healthy for democracy?
It is not healthy, not at all. In conscientizing the people to take their destiny in their hands, not by self-help, but by being awake and raising their alertness to the leadership pitfalls that we see all the time. It is one, the mass media needs to play its role. I want to tell you, the media, I'm always very critical of the media because I know that the media ought to go beyond what it is today. People need to make critical investigations into certain things that at a time we are in the political the public space. But the leaders have become conscious of the mannerisms of the mass media, that something could become very, very frenetic, and they will just wait because they know that in a short while it will be kept, yes, it will fizzle out and no person will talk about it again. We've had, and so what happens is that, like I said, either because hunger has been created in such a way that people, even those who should bring it to public domain, are so consumed in the struggle to make a living. Otherwise, if the searchlight is beamed always on the political leaders, I'm not sure that most of the things that we see today, they will do them and get away with them. It was Zika in the days of his political activism that said that leaders will hold the light and point the way, and the people will follow. People say followership. The followers get the kind of leader they deserve. I don't completely agree. I believe that the leadership should inspire. Leadership should conscientize by the things they do, by the way they conduct themselves, by the way they show mass appeal through humanity causes, through their conduct in public spaces. But unfortunately, that is not what we find in Nigeria. People act as if they are not responsible to the people. Why? Because they manipulate their ways to positions of authority. When election comes, those who seek genuine ascendance to such positions go into their cocoons to plan and see how they can win the people. Others who are desperate are busy plotting how to manipulate the system to find themselves there. And let me tell you, when you throw so much money trying to win the people to get to a position of leadership, what it also means is that you have settled whoever, and so you are going there to, of course, recoup that which you have spent. And so people are now saying, no, we cannot because of hunger, take what will last us for 1 month and suffer for the rest of the 4 years. And so they are awake, people are getting very awake and aware, and they are saying, no, we are going to throw everything we have into the ring to make sure that those we seek by their conduct, by their promises, by their party politics and manifestos, those are the people we are going to vote for. And so when you put side by side what it used to be in our communities and what it has become in the political space, what you find is that our local communities, they run affairs much, much better than even our political class. When somebody who is in the National Chamber, as they call it, when he gets there, what happens is that even when the constituency allowance is not by constitution supposed to be given to them, what happens is that they come and throw a few crumbs and give the impression that this is coming from their pockets. But indeed, somebody has been given 100 million for constituency projects. He comes and he spends 10 million and pockets 90 million, and they clap for him. The media is not letting the people know that what you have been given is something that he has collected by way of helping the standard of life of the people whom he represents. So I think that much of this narrative will need to bring it clearer by the participation of the mass media in the process and by the evolution of the democratic process,
Okay, I think we need to open up the line so that people can contribute to also share the challenges of their own view about the challenges that have observed between leadership and followership. The number to call is on them already displayed on your screen: 0801 0012 106 9621. 0812 106 9621. The other number is 0807 843 4277. 0807 843 4277. You can call to make your contribution. Okungbowa, can you help us to talk about the challenges you have observed between the leaders and the followership and how such challenges are affecting our growth?
Number one, from the perspective of the followers appear to be very docile and gullible. I do not know where that the root of that is from. Maybe it is because democracy is a recent thing that we have not fully grasped as a people. But it is incumbent on leaders, on followers to show that the leaders are there because of them, and as such they should ensure that they hold them accountable to their actions. So the challenges before the followers is for them to be much more alive to their responsibilities of holding the leaders accountable. Yes, the mass media and the other social NGOs, religious bodies, and all those groups in society can also help in calling attention to the frailties, to the failures, deficiencies of the leadership. But the followers are disadvantaged because, one, there's so much poverty in the land. Two, people do not understand that political leaders are actually there for their own, in their own interest, the interest of the masses. And whenever they do things outside that hurts the masses are free to reject and repudiate them. Something happened in Sri Lanka, I think, where the masses banded up and drove their president out of their country because they were utterly fed up with the insensibility, insensitive leadership. So the followership should understand that they actually have power and they should exercise it. Of course, an election is coming. This is where they can actually do what they want, their desires. Because if your leaders that you have elected have not done anything to improve your lot, this is the time to take a decision. But for the leadership, the leadership class in Nigeria today are an utter disgrace. They have not shown that they understand that civic virtue is the most important article that they can use to develop Nigeria. When you pander to ethnic, religious, or all such parochial leanings, you have a problem. But the kind of leadership we have in Nigeria has been made to endure since independence. Nigerians actually should expect better things from their leaders, not this kind of wishy-washy type of leaders that we have. They have not. But let me tell you something. In the Second Republic, things were a little different. Leaders actually had the masses at heart, and they did things to, even though human beings are human beings, they also cater to their own needs. Even is it the Gandhis in India, who are a big political family?
Yes.
They still have cockroaches, they still have skeletons in their cupboard that they want to keep.
Yes.
But they are leaders, they have impacted on their societies. Yes. But that is not the case in Nigeria. Our leaders have failed us. What Nigerians want is security. What they want is to be able to send their children to school and eat 3 square meals. That is all they need. And these things are not, it's not rocket science that...
Let's take this.
Yes.
Hello.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Your name and location, please.
I'm Peter. I'm calling from Refined Studios.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
I so much love this conversation. This is a listening point. I need to hear from this listening point more. And like today, this is topic: leadership and followers. I'm observing what one of our daddy is saying here. The media have to do a lot. They have a lot to do. I believe that some of those media are benefiting from the politicians. That is those leaders. That is why they are not being able to tell us the citizens that do not know the details of what is going on in the leadership. Because if you ask me how much is the amount of money that my student, the person that is presenting me there in the Hello Chamber, I don't know. Not to talk of the down chamber, not to talk of the state. I don't know how much it is. I don't even know the budget that they even give to them. It's the media that can update us of those things, so that we can be able to know how much back then, back politics. I don't even vote. But in the time I do my PDC, I go to vote any rubbish. I will join vote to vote any rubbish out of this Nigeria this time around. So please, I love the conversation I'm speaking from it. So I want you people to do more on enlightening also this what the leaders, the so-called leaders are doing to the people they say they are governing. So I will want people to do more, and the conversation that you are doing, God will literally bless many of you there.
Thank you very much.
So from what Peter just said is spot on. The media should actually be the searchlight on the politicians, our political elites. He's talking about the senators and all of the political leadership, the political class.
Yes.
They earn humongous salaries and they are not even happy with their situation. I'm sure they will be clamoring for a review of their salary.
Okungbowa, I want to go on a short break. We'll be right back. Just keep tab on your television. Don't go away. Welcome back to the studio. The topic is, the program is the meeting point, and the topic is challenges of leadership and followership in the political arena. We have opened up the line, and our guest in the studio has been Okungbowa by my immediate left, and citizen Zika Chima. So they have been here discussing the topic. You can call to make your contribution if you have been following. we are talking about the challenges now.
Yes.
You are talking about our leaders, how insensitive they are to the price of the masses.
Yeah, from what the last caller, he made a very valid point when he said the media should actually beam the searchlight on the activities of the political elites. The media haven't actually. The media it's a very vibrant group we have in Nigeria, but there's a lot of bottlenecks and red tapeism that actually stifles leadership, press freedom in Nigeria. It is because the mass media is actually prying into the deep recesses of our leaders, and they are not happy, and they are doing all they can to stifle the press. But that is not where we should allow it go. We should actually steer the conversation. For example, the elections are around the corner. What is the media doing to get the politicians to talk about issues that concerns the masses, not the ego problem between Atiku and
the blame game
and Wike and all those funny things that are happening. So that is where the media should come in, and civil society groups and even the religious bodies. Now, the failure of leadership in Nigeria is our leaders are selfish. Every day, 6 months ASU is on strike, and every day on the front page of Nigerian newspapers, we see the children of governors, of senators, of all these big elites graduating from universities in the UK and America and they flaunt it in our
face. The last one is that of Governor Umahi of Ebonyi State. Even
this House of Rep Speaker Bagabi Abila, he had the effrontery to display his working class in America, in Harvard. No, that is not the issue. The issue is insensitivity. We are talking about ASU strike that is 6 months old, and that, except we do not understand the implication of the disruption of the educational system for 6 months in one calendar year, we do not truly understand the impact, the negative, deleterious effect that will have on the economy. We do not understand that yet. But Nigerians should actually begin to ask questions, and that is why we must take our leaders to task. We must hold them accountable for their misbehaviors, because nobody rewards bad behavior. Then why would we come back and vote people we know in the last, since 1993, haven't done us any good? 1999, sorry, haven't done us any good, whether it is with party A or with party B or with party C. Yes. We've had the same people circulating all around, so there is no difference. Nigerians now should begin to ask questions and say, 2023, this is who we want. A huge example, one classic example is the Kenyan president was just elected just yesterday. And the man actually stood for the masses. Yes. The party has as its symbol wheelbarrow. So the whole election was an election of metaphor.
The ruler is not. He was the vice president of.
He was vice president for 10 years. When Raila Odinga was president, this man, what's his name? Ruto. Yeah. Ruto actually symbolized the masses, and the Raila Odinga symbolizes the establishment. But the masses that had the wheelbarrow as beat the incumbent party, the incumbent president, who was likened to a 7-ton truck.
Yes.
So a wheelbarrow now pushing a truck, a trailer, so to say, in our palace, a Dangote truck, a wheelbarrow pushing a Dangote truck. That was what happened. And Nigerians can replicate that situation in Kenya here.
Yes.
People are jubilating in Kenya because the quality of the leadership was seen in Ruto. And Ruto, this is the first time he has thrown his heart into the ring to challenge for presidency, and the whole country supported his ambition.
He has a very good quality
definitely
leadership traits.
Yes.
Can you also highlight some of the challenges you feel that we have between the followers and the leaders in this country? I would rather have been able to tell us about the docility of the followership,
yes,
the gullibility of our followership, yes, and the insincerity on the part of our leaders. who have decided to, by hook or crook, keep us at the level we are. That even when you dangle a 5 naira on a mature man, he will be willing to collect the 5 naira because of hunger in town. Can you highlight more challenges that is facing leadership and followership in this country?
Okay, you all see on a daily basis the conduct of our leaders, political class. We have noticed the way the followers are also going about canvassing for votes for their principals or their political parties. But when you look at the way the political parties have been run, our government has been run at the various levels, from the local government, states, and whatever, even the legislature, you will find that there is a common recurrence, and that is they all behave in a certain way, oblivious of the feelings of the common people. What it means is that the political class, they have taken the masses for granted. And why has that become so? The masses are not sufficiently aware of the power that they wield. They are not sufficiently aware of how much they can determine who goes there and who does not go there. They are not also so much aware of the fact that the man whom they have voted into power at whatever level is to serve their interest and not to, for self-aggrandizement. And
not to be served.
Yes, and not to be served. And so, if we take, I came up with a definition of followership, and I said, followership is the totality of persons who have invested their trust and confidence in the leadership, oftentimes premised on expected deliverables in tandem with their desires. What it means is, you have a reason for going to the polls to vote a particular person. If that person is not doing what you expect, people should be able to come out and to cry out. And how do you cry out? The media ought to be sensitive to the plight of the people and cry out. Now, what you see, the other day somebody said the salary of a senator is higher than the salary of the American president. And very woefully, a senator came out to say that indeed, Nigerian senators, work harder than the American president. And I was asking myself,
working harder and delivering on the development.
Well, that their responsibilities are much more than the American president. He has forgotten that the American president is not just the American president. He is almost like the president of the entire world. Because when the American president sneezes, wherever. And so, the challenges we have is compromise between the political class and the followers. The followers have become what they are because there is hunger in the land. But I want to say this. Who has created the hunger? Why do we have this piecemeal dispensation of handouts and what have you? If leadership provides the basic needs of life, if leadership provides the conducive environment, if leadership provides the enabling environment for investors to come in, and do you need to go wherever and give people money, bags of rice or whatever? When you go for political campaign today, what you see is the sharing of money and what have you. And indeed, the masses have developed the habit of going there because of what they can get. Sometimes they do not even listen to what the person. And a few occasions I attended political meetings. What I see is whoever that is being expected comes, and people tend to be more interested in what the person is leaving behind when he is going. People do not sit down, call the man to this and say, what do you intend to do differently from the present unfortunate leadership? These are the questions people should be asking. If this money, what is it meant for? We don't need the money. What we need is, tell us that you are going to change our lives for good. Tell us that when you come, you are going to put in place a system that will make it impossible for us to go on strike. A system that will make it impossible for people to go on the street demonstrating, because life has become better because things are changing. Look, leadership performance is you can feel it, you can assess it, you can tell if it is going well or if it is not going well. And so it's as simple as that. But our political class make it so difficult. Till today, nobody can say for certain the salary of a senator. Not even the media people. And so if you want to take advantage of the FOI, Freedom of Information Bill, FOB, sorry.
FOI Act. It's an act.
It's an act, yes. Act. You ask, where are those places who are those people who are making it impossible for journalists, media people to have access to information that they consider confidential? No information to a media person should be considered information. Not even the information pertaining to the defense, for example. No person is asking your strategy. People are asking, if we are voting this much money, allocating this much money, we want to know how was it expended. These are the basic things I expected. And I want to tell you, the moment the political class understands that there is nothing that they do that they can get away with because of the curiosity and the inquisitive nature of the media people, it will help to bring them to better performance. And that is what I expect our media to do from this time on. Wake up to the responsibility they have been given so that things can move on as expected. Otherwise, the moment the leaders believe that no person is going to ask questions about their misconduct, then they will get away with it. Otherwise, what leaders usually do is to call the media and try to compromise them. But it's unfortunate that people will tell you because the way of judging who is successful now is the kind of car you drive, the kind of house you live in, the kind of gadgets you carry on. It is not it. The media, I believe, is a selfless profession. And people do it for the passion, not even for the interest. It goes beyond the interest. It is for the passion. You are passionately, involved. You want to do it not because of what it can bring to you. Because in journalism, honor and integrity should come before the windfall. The windfall could come by way of gratification. You are doing a good job. People give you money. Your name open doors for your children in time to come. Those are the kind of things that we expect. But if you want to be the one that will start it, then it means that we are falling away from what they say the teachers are, because the teachers and the journalists are grouped together as people who do not do their job because of the money they can get from it, but because their reward is in heaven. I don't know how true that is today.
Okay. Well, I think the media is doing a lot more to educate the masses on their responsibilities and how they can really take power back to themselves. And that is why we are here this evening talking about this program. But these other stakeholders must step up their game. What are the civil society groups?
Yes.
What are they doing? How are they mobilizing the people to create awareness among them? Who is sensitizing the people in this part of the world? Those are the things. You are from the civil society organization. So you must go back home and also sensitize your members on the need to begin to speak up. Because the journalists are doing their best. If the other stakeholders are coming out to speak, the journalists will continue from there, propagating what other groups are talking about. But Okungbowa, can you really help us by way of enlightenment? That is why we are here, to let the people know the powers inherent in the followers to decide what happens during the election.
Thankfully, INEC has, with the introduction of technology, appeared to have ensured a level, smooth playing field for everybody. So it is actually now left in the court of the followers to do what they consider is in their best interest. Because if you look at the elections that have been held in Nigeria since 1999, that is why the last caller said he had lost interest in politics and did not go to vote, but that in 2023 he's going to participate. I do not know whether it is because of whether his interest has been piqued by the recent events and the poverty that we all have to endure, or whether it is because he has finally understood that things can't go like this anymore. But with technology, the politicians, I was interviewing a very top politician in the state a few weeks back, and when we asked him whether he was confident that his party would win the election, the 2023 election, he was very cautious, because he told us that gone are the days when votes were manufactured. That was the exact words. Gone are the days when votes were manufactured. That it is Deltans that will decide. So Deltans, the power is in your hands. Nigerians at large, yes. The power is in your hands. With the new Electoral Act, the Electoral Act has made it impossible, not impossible, made it very difficult, yes, for electoral malfeasance to be perpetrated, easily. That was what it used to be. But all that has changed. So I want to encourage Deltans and Nigerians at large. On the election, on the day to vote, please go to the polling station, get your PVC and vote. Your vote will count. And when that realization hits our politicians, the elites, they will sit up and begin to do the right thing, yes, and begin to, how can it be said that it was only when Senator Shehu Sani, the Kaduna, I think Kaduna South or Kaduna Central, when he was in the Senate, that he openly, publicly, revealed for the first time publicly the salary of the senator, and his colleagues, they rebuked him, yes, they attacked him, they vilified him, but he stood his ground. And now we know that a senator earns upwards of 14 million, and I'm sure they are clamoring for a review. When a lot of Nigerians earn less than 30,000 naira, and they get all manner of allowances, yes, and Nigerians should actually begin to question this whole setup. Yes. Why even make it a full-time job? Why not make the Senate a part-time job?
Indeed, they perform on part-time basis.
But they earn full-time salaries.
Yes, and full-time salary.
So, Deltans, I beg of you, on election day, vote your conscience. Vote the candidate that you are sure will take you to El Dorado, or on the path to El Dorado. Yes. If you, at least, let us start somewhere.
Yes.
So, the followers actually have powers that I'm sure they are now beginning to understand. They did not actually know this, because I'm sure the answers for whatever disruption, for whatever crime was perpetrated in the name of NSAS, it opened the eyes of Nigerians. Yes. Because if you look carefully, you find out that the political elites were the ones that were targeting. They went to their homes and looted their homes. So it shows that Nigerians are angry, they are frustrated, but they have not been able to find a vent for their frustration. And that the NSAS thing actually gave them that and made them understand that, we actually have power. And since then, nothing really has changed. Things have actually gone back. Right. That tells you that there's a cabal that is sitting on this nation and determined to keep it in darkness. But I'm sure they'll be frustrated. Yes. The followers already know that they have power and they are going to hold it in 2023.
They may not be aware, because if they are aware, by now they should be using it. Can you also tell us more power that the followers have to really checkmate the excesses of the leaders?
Yes, let the followers have so much enormous power, so to say. They have enormous power to checkmate the excesses of these leaders by accessing information from certain agencies. Are you aware that there is a number the ICPC has that enables you to check the constituency projects that have been allotted to your rep in the House of Rep, in the Senate? There's a number. And you can access their website and you get everything pertaining to. So a lot of the constituency projects are abandoned because the people do not know. If these things are brought to the public domain by the media, I'm not sure any person will be giving money to build a health center somewhere, and what he does is his aides who are aware, he shuts them up with some cash and everything just goes like that. So there is the need for, I keep saying, that sensitization, that proper education. The people need to know. All they see is, some people, the time you see politicians is just after 4 years when they come around to contest. They do not know what to take home because many are illiterate. Nigeria, the literacy level is very high, and so a lot of people do not actually know how to access and how to, credit whoever that does whatever. What you now see in various states, the Niger Delta states, for example, you see certain rules that are done. The people do not even know that perhaps it is NDDC that is doing the road. Sometimes they give the credit to the governor. Sometimes the government does, where NDDC is very active, the government could decide to be giving credit for jobs not done. So it goes vice versa, but people should be able to know that this job is being executed by this agency, this other one by the state government, so that we don't have conflicts, of performance by the various bodies. So if you ask me, I will tell you the challenges of followership is, let us be alert to our responsibilities to checkmate these people by probing into the conduct of our people, by asking questions, because that's the only way you can know. The media ought to bring this thing closer to the people, let them get to know. It's unfortunate that we have the era of cable where people hardly watch local media platforms. But even at that, a lot of these things happen on the Facebook and other platforms. People can get to access and read, and so it is up to the masses, the people, the followers. Because when we say the followers, we are not restricting it to people who have political alliances. We are restricting it to all those who are on this other side of the divide, to get to know the things governments at the various levels are doing by participating in some of these things. We on the side of the CSO, we are doing the very much we can. Remember that it's a non-profit, not-for-profit business, but even at that, I can tell you for sure that even within this state, we have done some corrective measures that have put certain persons on edge, and so that is the way it is.
I think we have almost talked.
I just want
something to add.
Yeah, I just want to say something to corroborate what you said about the ICPC thing. Nigerians actually, it is not a question of illiteracy. Nigerians are a very, very educated group of persons. It's just that we have not understood the need to. Patriotism is at its lowest because of the fact that the state does not care for its citizens. So, if not, Nigerians are aware and are educated. But I think they can become much more, they should toe the line of activism. That is one of the reasons why they haven't been so active in politics, is because we haven't actually been indoctrinated as a nation. I see some nation where societal mores, values are so well entrenched. You wonder how they attain such high standards. But in Nigeria, that is not the case. I think we need to be indoctrinated. Where I have seen a soldier man, sorry to say that, but I've seen a soldier man sit down while the national anthem is on, when civilians are actually responding to it. I've seen so many occasions where it has happened. So I'm saying that Nigerians, the populace, we need to be indoctrinated so that we love our country and take ownership of it and begin to question leadership. That is where I think our problem starts. We need to be indoctrinated. But it's a two-edged sword. If you do not, or if the country does not do anything that helps you, how are you going to show a love for your country? But because we do not have any other country, I think we should, Nigerians, the citizens should take their destiny in their hands, love your country, and then you will see you reap the rewards of investing in your country.
That comes the issue of civic responsibility.
That is correct, yes. Civic virtue. We must understand that it is when we consider the interest of the whole and subjugate our own narrow interest, that is when the society actually develops.
Yes.
So until we do that, we cannot begin to cry that our leaders are heavy-handed, that they are high-handed, that they are insensitive. If we begin to do that, they won't care until we take action. And that action is not by violence, it is by constructive engagement and going to make them know that we can't be taken for a ride anymore. And that's the election.
Okay.
And that's the people.
Okungbowa, it boils down to what John Chima said, that everything starts and ends with leadership. In the days of Diagbo and Buhari, you saw that what's it called, war against indiscipline was almost taking effect because the leaders have shown that this is what we want.
Yes.
Every society that is not determined by its leaders to effect change will end up walking around the circles. You understand? That will take us nowhere until the leaders realize that their exemplary disposition will have very, very great impact on followership. Things will not change. And that is where we are. Because the process of selecting our leaders is flawed. We now throw up leaders that does not have respect for the rule of law. We now throw up leaders that does not have respect for the followers. We now throw up leaders that are very, very greedy. We now throw up leaders that are not interested in the development of their society. We now throw up leaders that will make money in Nigeria and take it to overseas to invest. We now throw up leaders. I read recently that Chima ate up 17-point-something billion paper contract that they executed. I read it today.
Except in Nigeria.
You understand that
they will never give you a pictorial evidence.
So they will now tell you that contract is that money is gone. You can't investigate it because the papers to investigate is not there.
Eaten by termite.
Yes, termite or ant. I can't. You understand? So snakes swallow the billions in was it Benue or so? Monkeys are. It's really, really very, very pathetic. Our leaders must rise to realize that the earlier they begin to see Nigeria as our project, the better for all of us.
And decadence in leadership is to the extent of the permissiveness of the followership.
Yes. So we must
the followership that you have impoverished. The followership that are waiting to feed from the crumb that fall from the Chima state.
But may I just say something? During the French Revolution, I think the revolution actually started out of people revolting about the price of bread. And people were unhappy that bread was expensive, and the queen said, if they won't eat bread, give them cake. Then people realize that these people are totally out of touch with the reality. Cake. We only see cake in pictures.
Yes.
We only see cake when people are eating it. We are asking them to give us cake. How we are talking about bread that
we're talking
about cake. And that was where they really went gaga. And they killed all of them, but we are not...
we are not advocating for the riotous revolution, but intelligent revolution should begin to take effect in our lives. Let the electorates, let the followers realize that they have fooled us enough. So begin to let them know that you are 1 naira, your 10 naira can no longer take care of us. give us dividend of democracy, and so that there's steady electricity supply for us to, even when we cook, to enable us, preserve our food, and give us quality, good health facilities. Yes. Quality education, and that is all that we need. The moment you are able to provide this one, Nigerians, I know how resilient we are. We must really fend for ourselves. Yes. I want to thank you for making to this episode of the Meeting Point. Citizen Zika Chima of civil organization, I want to thank you. We want more of your group to speak up, because if you people are complimenting what the media is doing, Nigeria will be a better place. Edda, I will on Okungbowa. I call you Edda because I know that this beer is not just for nothing. So I want to thank you also for making it to today's episode. Viewer, join us same time tomorrow for another wonderful edition of the Meeting Point. My name is Michael Ikogu.